Dr. Kaelir, her vitals are dropping. The assistant's voice trembled, cutting through the hum of medical machines. Impossible, Kaelir muttered, his glowing blue eyes narrowing as he adjusted the crystalline injector. The antidote should have stabilized her. Then why is she convulsing? Amara, the child's mother, cried out, her voice a mix of fear and fury. Do something. She's dying. Kaelir's usually steady hands faltered as he stared at the human child, so small, so fragile, writhing on the sleek silver medical bed. For the first time in his career, doubt gnawed at him. This wasn't supposed to happen. Dr. Kaelir was no ordinary physician. Among the Velarans, he was celebrated as a prodigy, a healer who had cured plagues and reversed genetic deformities. But on that fateful day, his 4 hands trembled for the first time in his illustrious career. Before him lay a human child, barely 6 years old, her pale skin a stark contrast to the gleaming silver of the alien medical bed. Her name was Lila, a child of Earth diplomats stationed on Velara 9. Lila had been rushed into the med bay after consuming a native Velaran fruit, one humans were strictly forbidden from touching. Her tiny body convulsed, her vitals flickering like a dying star. Her parents, James and Amara, stood nearby, their faces etched with desperation. "Save her, Dr. Kaelir," Amara pleaded, her voice cracking. "You're her only hope." Kaelir nodded, his bioluminescent eyes glowing a soft blue, a color that signified calm in his species. "I'll do everything in my power," he assured them. The Velaran medical database was a treasure trove of knowledge, and Kaelir relied on it to identify an antidote. He synthesized a serum, a glowing amber liquid swirling in a crystalline vial. The database assured him it was the perfect solution. With precise movements, he injected it into Lila's arm. For a moment, it seemed to work. Lila's convulsions ceased, and her breathing stabilized. Relief washed over her parents. But then, an ominous alarm blared through the medbay. Lila's vitals plummeted, her skin turning an unnatural shade of gray. Kaelir's eyes shifted to a panicked red as he realized the truth. The serum was no antidote. It was poison. "What did you do?" James's voice thundered, his fists clenching. "You promised to save her." Kaelir's normally calm demeanor shattered. "The database must be wrong. This has never happened before." Amara's sobs filled the room as Lila's condition worsened. Kaelir's mind raced. He scanned the database again, but the information was flawless, or so it seemed. The serum should have worked. Unless there was something about humans the database didn't account for, something that Velarans didn't understand. As Kaelir recalibrated his equipment, the station's central AI Atheris chimed in. "Alert. Human physiology is exhibiting unexpected reactions to Velaran compounds. Recommend immediate containment to prevent escalation." Kaelir ignored the AI. Containment wasn't an option. Not with a child's life at stake. "I'll fix this," he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "I have to." But the weight of his mistake was already rippling beyond the medbay. News of the incident reached Velara 9's political council, sparking outrage among both humans and Velarans. Earth's representatives demanded answers, while Velaran officials scrambled to contain the diplomatic fallout. Meanwhile, in the medbay, Kaelir worked tirelessly. He analyzed Lila's blood, searching for anomalies, clues, anything that could help. What he found shook him to his core. Human DNA, so deceptively simple compared to Velaran genetics, held a hidden complexity, a trait that reacted violently to certain Velaran enzymes. The serum hadn't just poisoned Lila. It had triggered a chain reaction that was rewriting her cellular structure. "She's changing," Kaelir whispered, his voice barely audible. "What do you mean, changing?" Amara demanded, stepping closer. "Fix her, Kaelir. She's just a child." Kaelir looked up, his glowing red eyes meeting Amara's tear-filled gaze. "I don't know if I can." The words hung heavy in the air, a grim reminder that even the greatest healers could falter. As Lila's condition deteriorated, Kaelir made a desperate decision. He would have to break Velaran protocol and call on forbidden technology, a procedure so dangerous it had been outlawed for centuries. It was the only chance to save her. But as Kaelir prepared to defy his own people, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The mistake he had made wasn't just a medical error. It was a spark, one that could ignite a fire capable of consuming two worlds. The sterile hum of the medbay was interrupted by a soft, rhythmic beeping, a cruel reminder that Lila's time was slipping away. Dr. Kaelir stood frozen, his 4 hands gripping the edges of the console as he stared at the screen. The forbidden solution flickered before him. Project Orua, an experimental Velaran technology outlawed after it had caused catastrophic consequences during trials. Dr. Kaelir, are you hesitating? Atheris, the station's AI, broke the silence. Her survival probability is now at 6%. Kaelir's glowing eyes shifted from red to an amber hue, a signal of deep conflict. This is madness, he muttered. If I use Orua and fail, I could lose everything. My career, my honor. You'll lose her too, Amara interjected, her voice trembling but resolute. She stepped closer, her tear-streaked face a mixture of desperation and defiance. You're supposed to be the best. Prove it. Her words struck a chord, shaking Kaelir from his paralysis. He turned to his assistant, Veral, a young Velaran who had been silently monitoring Lila's vitals. Prepare the isolation chamber, Kaelir ordered. We're activating Orua. Varel's eyes widened. Doctor, you can't. The council. I said prepare it. Kaelir's tone left no room for argument. The isolation chamber was a cylindrical room, its walls lined with pulsating veins of bioluminescent circuitry. Lila's small body was carefully placed at the center, surrounded by an intricate lattice of Velaran biotech. Amara and James watched from behind a glass partition, their fingers interlaced in silent prayer. As Kaelir and Veral worked in tandem, the AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Project Orua is a molecular reconstitution protocol designed to rewrite cellular structures. Warning: activation risks include organ failure, neural collapse, and system-wide instability. I know the risks, Kaelir replied, his hands moving with surgical precision. Initiate Phase 1. A low hum filled the room as tendrils of energy coiled around Lila, forming a cocoon of light. Kaelir's every movement was calculated, his mind racing to compensate for the complexity of human biology. He monitored the console, adjusting the parameters to stabilize the energy flux. But as the cocoon grew brighter, the unthinkable happened. Lila's vitals spiked erratically and the chamber's alarms blared. System overload detected, Atheris announced. Immediate intervention required. Kaelir's heart sank. Atheris, divert auxiliary power to stabilize the chamber. Auxiliary power diverted. Warning: power reserves at critical levels. Amara pounded on the glass. What's happening? Is she okay? Kaelir didn't answer. His focus was entirely on the console. He knew that one wrong move could mean disaster, not just for Lila, but for everyone aboard the station. The forbidden path he had chosen was fraught with peril, and now he was walking it blind. And yet, amidst the chaos, something extraordinary began to happen. The cocoon's light shifted, taking on a golden hue. Lila's erratic vitals started to stabilize, and the alarms fell silent. Kaelir stared in awe. It's working, he whispered. It's actually working. But deep in his core, a gnawing doubt remained. He couldn't shake the feeling that this miraculous recovery came at a cost he had yet to fully comprehend. Kaelir's breath hitched as he stared at the glowing cocoon surrounding Lila. Her vitals had stabilized, and for the first time in hours, hope flickered in the room. Yet beneath the surface of his relief, a dark shadow loomed. The golden hue of the cocoon wasn't part of the protocol. Something was happening. Something unaccounted for. The cocoon pulsed one last time before dissolving into wisps of light. Lila lay on the chamber bed, her eyes fluttering open. Amara and James rushed in, tears streaming down their faces as they cradled their daughter. "She's awake," Amara whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. "You did it, Dr. Kaelir." Kaelir remained still, his 4 hands gripping the edges of the console. The readouts were inconsistent, the data a chaotic swirl of anomalies. Lila was alive, but her DNA had been irrevocably altered. He knew this wasn't over. 2 days passed, and Lila's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Her strength returned, and she exhibited a vitality far beyond that of a typical human child. Yet there were signs that unnerved Kaelir. Her eyes occasionally glowed with a faint golden light, and her reflexes were unnaturally sharp. "Doctor, can I go outside?" Lila asked, her voice innocent yet laced with an unsettling calmness. "Not yet," Kaelir replied, forcing a smile. "We need to ensure you're fully stable." "I feel fine," Lila insisted. "Better than fine." Amara and James noticed the changes too, but they chalked it up to the trauma she'd endured. Kaelir, however, knew better. Late at night, he pored over the data, comparing Lila's new cellular structure to Velaran records. What he discovered left him cold. Lila's DNA was now a hybrid of human and Velaran traits. Her cells regenerated at an accelerated rate, and her neural pathways evolved to process information at an astonishing speed. But it wasn't just her physiology that had changed. Kaelir feared her very essence, her humanity, might be slipping away. Kaelir's fears were confirmed when a high-ranking Velaran official, Minister Dratha, arrived unannounced. "Dr. Kaelir," Dratha began, his tone icy, "you've violated the highest protocols by activating Project Orua. Explain yourself." Kaelir straightened, his bioluminescent eyes a defiant red. "I saved a child's life." "At what cost?" Dratha retorted. "You've created something unprecedented, something dangerous." Before Kaelir could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A security officer rushed in, his face pale. "Minister, the child, she's gone." Amara and James's voices echoed in panic as they searched for Lila. Kaelir felt a sinking dread as he accessed the station's surveillance system. The footage showed Lila moving through the corridors with inhuman speed, her golden eyes glowing brightly. She wasn't running away. She was searching for something. Kaelir and the security team tracked Lila to the station's central power core. She stood before the reactor, her small frame dwarfed by the pulsating machinery. As they approached, she turned to face them, her expression calm yet otherworldly. "Lila," Amara called out, her voice trembling. "Sweetheart, come back to us." Lila tilted her head, her golden eyes locking onto her mother. "I'm not just Lila anymore," she said, her voice echoing with an unearthly resonance. "I feel everything. The station, the stars, even the Velarans. It's all connected." Kaelir stepped forward cautiously. "Lila, the changes you're experiencing are dangerous. Let us help you." She shook her head. "You can't stop this. The energy from the reactor, it's calling to me. I can fix things, make them better." "Fix what?" Kaelir asked, his voice urgent. Lila raised her hand and the reactor's glow intensified. "Everything." The room trembled as an energy surge erupted from the reactor, enveloping Lila in a blinding light. Kaelir shielded his eyes, his heart pounding. When the light subsided, Lila was gone. The reactor hummed steadily, its power output inexplicably stabilized. The alarms fell silent. Weeks passed, and the incident became a whispered legend among both humans and Velarans. The station's power grid now operated at unprecedented efficiency, and anomalies hinted at technological advancements far beyond Velaran understanding. Kaelir returned to his work, haunted by the question that lingered in his mind. Had Lila transcended, or had he unleashed something far more profound and far more dangerous into the universe? Amara and James left the station, their grief tempered by the hope that Lila's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. But as they gazed at the stars, they couldn't shake the feeling that she was still out there watching over them. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of space, a golden light flickered, a silent promise of change yet to come.